Today I'm going to walk through the lessons that I learned when trying to use a CNC to make things that, well, are likely better served using traditional tools. A few weeks ago, I had a customer come in and brought an example of one of these pamphlet holders, literature holders, and said, we have a customer that wants 50 of these. Can you make them? I said, it's wood. Absolutely. So I spent a little bit of time reverse engineering the components for these guys with the intention of using the CNC to make them. Now, what I learned through this process is the CNC is an amazing tool. And the unfortunate thing is every single time I get a new project, I think in my mind, how can I go about using the CNC? We've invested greatly in that tool, and I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth out of it. Not every piece on these things needs to be made on the CNC. If you're familiar with CNCs, they're great for sheet goods. You have people using desktop CNCs to make little cutouts, carving, signs, all of those things. CNCs are not necessarily great for working with hardwood and cutting parts out. It can do it, but the vacuum table that is associated with the CNC is not strong enough to hold down a 1x10 that's 10 foot long or 8 foot long. So you end up having to nail or screw or potentially hold down the piece of wood in some fashion. So since the CNC is not great for hardwood, I still wanted to try it. So what I found is that the side pieces for these file holders definitely is something that I probably would do in the future on the CNC. It's a thinner piece of wood. It doesn't have to be really wide. It does have a 3/4 inch rabbet on the back side, a 1/4 inch rabbet on the bottom side, and this angle. And I think the CNC is going to do a much better job with the accuracy on the angle and getting the dados done. I think in the future I will use the CNC if I needed to make any more of these. What I did find is that I probably wouldn't make the fronts or the backs on the CNC, mainly because they're just rectangular pieces. They don't necessarily need to be done on the CNC. There's a lot of waste in making these two pieces on the CNC, mainly because I want them to be nested inside the piece of wood, and so then there's a lot of waste that goes on all around that particular piece. I think I can do a much better job saving more material if I just cut it on the table saw and or miter saw. So I think that's our plan going forward if we end up making any more of these. In total, I think it took us about a week's worth time to make all of these. There's 50 of them back here. About a week to make them all. In true time, I'm guessing it probably took us 2.5, 3 days to actually make them. There was some downtime, obviously, cutting the parts, sanding them, downtime after we glue them, letting them dry. There was some downtime after we would spray them, waiting for them to dry between coats. So truthfully, in terms of effort, I think 2.5 days of total labor to make these. Spread out over about a week just because we have other projects going on as well. But we hit it hard the tail part of last week and this weekend to get them ready for the customer so that way they could go out the door today. They turned out great. The fronts were engraved by a friend of mine. He put the company logo in there. So we cut these parts, we sent them off to them. They engraved them, sent them back to us. Then we attached the front to the sides. We pre-finished the interiors of these guys when they were dry. We pre-finished the inside of the back component. Once that was dry, we glued them all together, let them dry, sanded them, and then put them in the finishing room to spray 3 coats of lacquer on the outsides. The bottom is just a piece of masonite or hardboard glued in with some super glue. All in all, it was a different project. We're not a factory. I make cabinets. We do some oddball things here and there, but rarely do I get an opportunity to make 50 of anything, let alone something that I've never made before. So would I do it again? Probably. Do I want to do it again tomorrow? No. But I do know from working through this process that I learned that certain components of this are not made to cut on a CNC. It's a lot easier to do so on other tools that I have at my disposal in the shop. Like I said, I would make the side pieces on the CNC. I think that'd probably be a lot quicker to have the CNC do it. But I did learn. I spent a little bit more money on material than I anticipated. One piece that I think I probably could have saved some money on is the back. Everything is solid oak. The back probably I could have made out of oak plywood and then just edge band the top exposed edge. Probably would have saved on some weight. Certainly would have saved on material. I think the backs, just by themselves, I think I spent probably close to $700 maybe in material just for the backs. I learned a lot through this process. I hope maybe you did a little bit just from me walking through my process on making these. If you have a project like this, don't be afraid to take it on. I am basically a 1.5-man shop, myself and my son. And so it was a lot for us to churn these out, but we worked some late nights, some early mornings, and we got it done. If you'd enjoy this and you've seen any of my other content and you find value in it, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so that way next time I produce another video, you'll be notified when that's available. Until next time.